What's up, everybody? It's JT Sports back to you guys with another video, and I'm here with the Newland Patriots versus the Detroit Lions Week 1 preseason preview. Going to be previewing this game, giving you guys some things to watch and some players to watch for this Week 1 preseason matchup. Now, before I begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Upload NFL videos and NFL content daily. So this is a very interesting matchup. So some things to watch is the Detroit Lions offense. They got a new offensive coordinator this offseason. And anytime you get a new offensive coordinator and you kind of want to hide what your offense is going to be like in the preseason, you don't really want to show too much, don't really kind of want to give yourself away, kind of want to have that unexpectancy and have teams on their heels of what to expect when it's time to play them when the regular season rolls around. So I really want to see how much is the new offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions going to show. And because in the preseason, like I said, you don't really want to show a lot of your offense. You kind of just want to throw a little bit in there and leave teams guessing when the regular season comes around. So it's going to be really interesting seeing how that turns out. And also the Detroit Lions offensive line. Now, their offensive line was pretty much their biggest weakness on the offensive side of the ball last year. So it's going to be interesting seeing how they end up playing in this game here. Although it's preseason, nobody really plays 100%. You still kind of want to get an idea there. They also have this or switching around on the offensive line. Some guy changed his position, and they also have a position battle there as well on the offensive line as well. So it's going to be interesting to monitor that as this game progresses. And the New England Patriots, a big thing I'm going to be watching for them is these wide receivers, because they have a lot of talented wide receivers on their roster right now, and they're going to have to release some of those wide receivers when they turn their roster down from 90 players to 53. And also Josh Gordon has a suspension that is currently that he reapplied for review, or he reapplied to get it overchanged and so he can get reinstated. So it's going to be interesting seeing how that turns out. And if he does get reinstated, then that's also going to make this game very, very crucial when it comes to deciding which of these wide receivers are going to end up making the roster. So it's going to be really interesting seeing these wide receivers for the New England Patriots and also the Detroit Lions newly improved off the line. They did some switching around there, and also how much of the offense are we going to see out of the Detroit Lions. Now, so players to watch for the New England Patriots. Number one guy I really want to keep my eye on is quarterback Jarrett Stidham, University of Auburn. According to Ireland.com, he was listed as the third-string quarterback behind Danny Etling going into this game. But I do suspect that we will see a lot of Jarrett Stidham in this game. And it's going to be really interesting because this is a guy who a lot of draft experts think that he has a lot of potential to be a solid quarterback, not an elite-level quarterback or a future Hall of Famer or anything like that. But a lot of draft experts think that he can be pretty productive in his NFL career, and he can have some success there and be a solid starter. Now, me, I'm kind of a guy who wants to see what a quarterback does on the field first. And last season for Auburn didn't really impress me a lot, although that Auburn team wasn't really the most talented, and the play calling held him back, and the time that he had them around him held him back a lot. But this is a very big stage I want to see out of him, especially against a very solid Lions defense. Their backup defense should be pretty good, or whatever defense they have in there. So he's going to be challenged. Going to be interesting seeing how he does up in that Detroit defense, going against that defense. And also, he also has a pretty solid backup offensive line, which is something that a lot of quarterbacks in this situation don't really have, because when you look at how deep the New England Patriots are when it comes to their offensive line, they have a lot of guys who are really talented on that roster. So Jarrett Stidham has a lot of factors working for him in this game. So I really want to see what he does with the talent that he has around him, and I want to see him go out there and make some plays and show me some signs of potential that he can indeed be a solid starter in this league. Then at the halfback position, you got Damon Harris, who they drafted drafted in this year's draft. A lot of people are really surprised that they decided to draft another halfback since they're already loaded. You already got Sonny Michel, Rex Burkhead, James White. So you add Damian Harris, and I think Damian Harris is pretty much a handcuff just in case a guy like a Sonny Michel ends up getting injured. And then you got a powerful back like Damian Harris, who's also pretty solid catching the ball out of the backfield as well. So he's going to be a guy who I'm going to be interested in watching. He's pretty good. Him and Josh Jacobs were pretty solid when they played for Alabama. Josh Jacobs went in the first round, but Damian Harris isn't that far apart from how good Josh Jacobs is. He's very powerful as well. He's also very good catching the ball out of the backfield. He's actually better catching the ball out of the backfield than what a lot of people give him credit for, and he was better catching the ball than what Josh Jacobs is. So it's going to be interesting watching him. Then you got Nick Brossette. He was the halfback for LSU, had a very productive year in 2018 for LSU. Very powerful guy. Reminds me a little bit of Leonard Fournette, but without the speed, without the crazy freak athleticism. But this is a guy who you can give him the ball. He can go downhill and he can run over a few guys. So he's basically a bulldozer. He's basically Leonard Fournette, but without the speed and freak athleticism that Leonard Fournette possesses. Then you got off the tackle Isaiah Wynn. Now, Isaiah Wynn was the Newland Patriots' first-round pick in the 2018 NFL draft. He ended up suffering an injury. I don't even think we saw him in any action at all in the preseason last season. So this is really his first NFL action, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be interesting seeing how he does because this is a guy who has a lot of high expectations on him going into this season. So I really want to see what he performs in a few snaps that we see him in this game. I'm suspecting he'll probably play about a series or two, or maybe the Patriots leave him out there to get him a little bit more acclimated into the NFL game and things like that. Then the wide receivers I'm going to be watching. Braxton Berrios, as Miami Hurricane fan, I'm going to be looking forward to seeing what he does. Didn't really see a lot of him last season at all, so I'm really intrigued in what he brings to the table. Very solid slot receiver, has very good hands, made a lot of big plays for the Miami Hurricanes a couple of seasons back, so I really want to see what he does in this preseason game. Then you got N'Keal Harry, if he plays in this game. Everybody wants to see this guy because this guy has a lot of hype surrounding him, and I want to see what he does in the preseason because normally rookie wide receivers kind of struggle to find their footing in the NFL for the first couple of weeks. So I want to see what N'Keal Harry does. Then on the defense side of the ball, you got defensive end Chase Winovich, who many people argue and say that he was better than Rashawn Gary. He was a better prospect and things like that, and he is a very solid pass rusher. So I want to see what he does in his preseason matchup as well. Bill Belichick being a guy who normally gets the most out of his defensive lineman, so I want to see what Chase Winovich does in this game. Then the cornerbacks, you got J.C. Jackson and you got Jawan Williams. Now, Jawan Williams was a guy from Vanderbilt who was very, very underrated, one of the better cornerbacks in that SEC conference last season, but didn't really get the accolades and the attention that he deserved. I think he's a very solid physical corner, and I think Bill Belichick is going to love him a lot because he really likes his corners who are very physical and very good and man-to-man coverage as well. So I really want to see what he does in this game as well. I'm going to be keeping my eyes on him. Now some players to watch for the Detroit Lions. Have a lot of them. You have halfback Mark Thompson. Really want to see what he does come out of the University of Florida. Want to see what he does in this game. Can he end up being a solid backup for this Detroit Lions team? And can he end up making the roster? And then you got tight end TJ Hawkinson. Obviously, him being a top 10 pick, I'm obviously going to be having my eyes on him. Noah Fant last week had a pretty solid outing. Want to see what TJ Hawkinson does in this preseason game as well. Then you got offensive guard Kenny Wiggins. He's a guy who I want to see what he does. Heard some things about him in camp, and I think he really needs to prove himself in this preseason. And I talked to a couple of other Detroit fans and people who closely watch the Detroit Lions and asked them some players that need to prove themselves. And a lot of people would say Kenny Wiggins. Then you got defensive end Austin Bryant. Now, Austin Bryant, I'm really intrigued in watching him because I don't really know how he's going to line up in this game. I don't really know what they're going to try to do with him because he's been practicing at linebacker and defensive end as well. So I really want to see what he does in this game. Then you got linebacker Jahlani Tavai. Now, Jahlani Tavai is a very underrated linebacker. Out of this year's NFL draft, a lot of people were really criticizing the pick, but now he's really been turning heads. this offseason, especially during training camp, and making a lot of plays as well. And this guy reminds me a lot of Darius Leonard. When you look at the tape, when you look at the film, go back to why he basically was their whole entire team. He was a guy who was making a bunch of plays for them, and that's pretty hard to do considering the fact that the teams that Hawaii played normally like to spread the ball around and have pass-heavy attacks. So it's really intriguing that he was able to have the production that he was able to have when you consider the offenses that they were ended up playing against. So I think Jelani Tavai is a guy who I think has a lot of potential. A lot of people have been talking about him a lot in the past couple of days since training camp began. So it's really interesting to see what he does in this game, and I'm suspecting that he will get a lot of opportunities and a lot of snaps in this game. Then you also got Trey Lamar, rookie out of Clemson. I want to see what he does there as well. Then you got cornerback Amani Oruye, cornerback out of Penn State. Now, I wasn't really high on him when the draft came around. I didn't really suspect that he would end up going in the first round. A lot of people had some first round grades on him, but I didn't really like what I saw out of him in Penn State. So this is really a big chance for him to step up and see what he does against his Newland Patriots team that has a lot of wide receivers. So he pretty much will be getting a pretty solid challenge because all these wide receivers who they have on their roster should give him a good bit of competition there as well. Then you got safety Will Harris out of Boston College. I really like what I saw out of Will Harris last year. I watched a lot of Boston College last year, and Will Harris was always a guy who was a pretty solid tackler as well, so I want to see what he does in this game. And this is it for my New England Patriots versus the Detroit Lions Week 1 preseason preview. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and content, and thanks for watching.